right? So we have compiled a list of such use cases, right? And this is not an exhaustive list per se, but the idea of showing this list is essentially to nudge you in the right direction and then start talking about what are some things which are available across our publisher network itself, right? So
I think we should read them all of them once.
yeah, definitely. So let me start with the brand-led initiatives. The first one is essentially something which we'll be dwelling deep today. We'll be looking at this in a much more thing, which is programmatic and banner ads. We'll talk about this in a bit. That is where we want to talk about the best practices. The second thing which most of the publishers do know, but they're not many have implemented in a very successful way, is affiliate marketing, right? Again, e-commerce is picking up big in India, so this is something which you can actually look at as a very big way. We'll talk about something called e-commerce soon, but this is something which is actually reselling the existing e-commerce networks thing on your website, right? Then we talk about sponsor ads, which is essentially content sponsorship, similar to advertorial. And here we also talk about landing pages and things which are activities which a couple of our clients do actively do for clients, where they do brand activation campaigns, right? And then there are classifieds and listings, which is the standard thing which was there in the print world, the legacy thing which has been carried here. Even though there are OLXs of the world, still classifieds is something which is significant from
Like a
a
PR
couple of
content,
clients.
yeah.
Then we talk about consultancy service, which is again a different form of a branding exercise itself, masquerading under content kind of a game, which is actually pretty prevalent with most of our especially niche publishers, people who are in the finance side or any niche segment, right? So that for them this is something which has been working out, especially guys like Live Runner, where we can actually talk about advertorial or media consulting content. Apart from this thing, they claim outright that this is a sponsored content, and they do content like that, right? And then we talk about surveys and research reports, which are actually ways in which we can actually monetize from the brand. We are talking to a couple of our people who have been in the industry, who have used this as a tool for getting more content. And again, we would classify grants from an IPSMF or media related funds also into this thing, where it comes as donations from a larger entity or a brand level entity, right? And again, we have content syndications and institutional sales, which are essentially a B2B component of this thing. If you are not able to monetize your content, you can actually give it to someone else to monetize. Your aggregators would fall into this kind of a domain.
So just to I just want to revisit this list again to give you certain examples of what kind of people can do what kind of these branded revenues. So programmatic banner ads is everyone is doing, and we will be covering that in details on how to improve that and what are the best practices. But apart from that, there are other sources what Vinod had mentioned. We should be understanding ourselves whether we are the right fit for those kind of revenue channels or not, and there are certain criteria or certain guidelines you can follow. So for example, affiliate is where you try to sell someone else's product onto your platform in a direct or indirect manner. So if you are able to segregate your audience, for example, if you're doing a platform which is talking a lot about your gadget reviews, right? And then you understand your audience is talking about your audience visiting your platform is much more interested in gadgets. So you can do a lot of affiliate sales on your platform for the different gadgets. Similarly, if you are doing a content on, say, medical or health equipments, right, you can sell health related products onto your platform. So you need to be very sure on what kind of audience you're catering. If you're catering to say to a pure political content, then you need to look out that affiliate may not be a right fit for you, because you cannot segregate your user. A person who's reading a political content right now and tomorrow entertainment content, next day say some crime related content, is very difficult to identify the intent of the user. And that is the reason all these customer data platforms, CDP platforms, all comes in handy for this affiliate targeting. Similarly, for sponsor ads, I'm just giving some certain examples so that you can categorize yourself as a publisher and see what are different revenue sources you can target. So sponsor ads is essentially talking about all your private ads, basically the ad source outside the programmatic ads. So if you are having a very good audience presence in the region or the domain you are in, you can definitely go for sponsors ads. For example, a guy who's doing a lot of hyper local content, can get a lot of hyper local advertisements. But guy who's
which is
writing, yeah,
again a very untapped segment.
untapped segment, and
Yeah.
with a huge segment. It's a big segment in India, because all these hyper local advertisers has not come to digital because nobody is giving that targeted audience to them. So if you really have a good audience there, this works for very good for the guys like, I can name some guys who talk about food blogging in a specific city, or guys like there's a platform called Little Black Book, or even Times of India started something called mini capsule kind of digital platforms, capsule papers in print and digital formats, where the whole idea was to go to that local audience and get sponsored ad from local advertisers, because
In
that's
our own network, there are folks like Revaria
yeah,
said,
there are folks like,
yeah,
yeah.
who are actually targeting people in a specific geography who have established their brand's dominance there.
Yeah.
And if you actually start looking at their traffic, with around 5 million traffic, there's still majority of the traffic is coming from the locality where they are targeting their
We have
content.
one more very good publishers called NPG News, who's targeting
Mm.
this is pretty decent
Yes.
manner, where we're talking about the local ads from their platform, as in from their geography. Similarly, advertorial is an area where you can tap in if you got a lot of good content writers who can really write kick-ass
Engaging
content,
content,
engaging
yes.
content, content where you can write something which probably nobody can write. So if you are having that kind of expertise, you should definitely tap into editorial
Yeah,
content
there is a
brands.
slight difference in writing for content from a news perspective versus an advertorial.
Yes.
Probably there are a lot of training material also out there, but and there are certain things which uh, portals like Facebook and Google also want. They want to outright tell call something as sponsored content things. But yeah,
But
but that is also a very
having
way.
said that, advertorial should also be an SEO friendly content. People should be searching for it. Advertorial is all about putting a brand's right image. The content should put a right image for the users without making them confused or without making them have an impression that it's a PR content. That's your writing skills. That's advertorial are essentially a much better form of your opinion articles. So you are writing an opinion like a fact is what an advertorial would mean. Yeah,
True.
I mean that's my understanding.
True.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
now coming to the second set of things, right, which is essentially a user-led model, right? So here the first thing which comes to your mind is essentially subscriptions or micropayments. Micropayment is a in thing right now. I think a couple of startups also come into the space. But yeah, we will probably cover this in detail in our next series in the same interaction series. The other thing which is there is membership. We haven't seen too many people in the Indian club, which is in that probably News Laundry already has this. They have some kind of membership orient. This is not actually the traditional subscription format. This is essentially something which makes you belong to a community or more like an evangelist for their brand like that. A good example would be Texas Tribune. They have done an activation campaign which is really good, right? That is something which is already been there. Then we also talk about again what are the other ways in which directly the users can actually
Actually, a couple
send
of our
them.
publishers are doing membership. There is a platform called Boom who are
Yeah,
giving
Boom is actually doing in
good
our
membership
membership
platform.
platform.
And
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, yeah. So membership is, Legal Era has one of our publishers has a
Yes.
good
No,
membership platform.
my point was actually it is not something which is being explored a lot
Yeah,
by a lot of people in the country, but
because
yeah,
people
a
are
lot of our
confused.
clients are also doing
I
this.
think when I speak to publishers, they are a bit confused about membership. See,
Mm.
people take membership as a donation, which is
Yes.
not right. I mean, donations are different from membership. Membership is all about building your users community and offering them something which is for a community. So for example, if I take an example of Boom is a building a community of fact checkers or people who are interested in doing fact checks, right? So Boom allows them to, come to a single platform of like-minded people, share their ideas. Boom give them newsletters and other materials, which is not, and they don't expect donations from them. So don't, money is always good, but membership is all about building community and giving something to community, or taking something from community and giving to the your audience. That is whole idea of membership,
Yeah.
and you should be targeting that in a future, because how this whole digital is grooming to is a community driven
True.
community driven era, where small communities will matter, like be it like Facebook groups or be it like Instagram communities. Everywhere digital is going to end up in, at least it'll have an important community driven system.
True.
Yeah.
Then we talk about the same breath events and workshops, which are essentially vestigial entities of the same thing, probably benefits of what a member would essentially get into.
Yeah.
And then we are something called d-commerce. The direct commerce is something which we keep talking about. We have a spin to it. Our understanding is, for example, guys like Better India, right? They have a e-commerce portal which is of their own products, their own brands being promoted on their website. So this is actually a good thing because, see, end of the day, if you start looking at e-commerce out there, they are also getting into private labels, right? So your Amazon, be it your Amazon or your Flipkart, all these guys are actually now having private labels of their own. So this is a something which is a parallel to that. When you are actually a person who's actually monetizing a community, why give the power to someone else when you can monetize you yourself? So that is the thought process between this direct commerce. That is something which is there. And then there are lots of crowdfunding platforms. I think again News 20 is a good example of how you get funded for a particular article, doing a particular program and things like that, right? That's there. Then you talk about value added services which actually given to a user, like simple things, like for example, one we were just discussing about a case study couple of days, like for example Wordle. It is actually been something which has been created by, bought over by New York Times, and they have given it for out there for the benefit of the communities out there, right? So value added service can be games, some kind of trackers and things like that, which you can build on top of your offerings, right? But again, this should be in line with the kind of content which you are doing. And then obviously you can talk about content
Yeah,
aggregation space.
one very good example of value-added services is that if I am building, say, health segment, health label content, and if I can bring all some of doctors to do a consultancy to, for say, for any kind of webinars, or even like what we are doing right now is a value-added services to our
True,
people,
yeah.
right?
Yes,
So
we can see
yes.
ourselves as a publisher for the news community, and then looking at value added services where you can give some kind of tracker mechanisms. And we are even having thoughts of how to actually start looking at scraping regular information and pushing it to our publisher. These are things which you can actually look at, right? And then we talk about archive sales, which has actually been something which has been picking up in a lot of our clients. We have Assam Tribune out there. A lot of people who are into the e-paper side of things are already getting into selling their archival content. So that is also something which is there. And obviously, this is the certification and courses are something which couple of our publishers are trying to try out, but we haven't done it yet. But yeah, that's also something which a lot of people are out there trying to ride on the edutech wave, and then trying to get some thing out there.
It will work for the people who have a very good targeted community of
Yes,
intellectuals
true.
where they can connect to.
So, with this in mind, the focus of today's presentation. So, this is actually something which we wanted to show to everyone as in terms of
By the way, you
process.
guys can write your questions, comments in respective platform you are watching in, and we will take them after the presentation ends.